Commission meeting. First order of business, the approval of minutes from the August 8th meeting. Somebody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Next item, claims approval. Like we have Reedy Financial, $8,887.39 for professional services. Jacoby and Toombs, $3,427 for Clifty Drive and Wilson Avenue widening professional services. And then 2 claims for acquisition right-of-ways for Clifty Drive, Lucy LLC and Carroll Properties LLC. And then Madison Courier for $214.56. Everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns? Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Next item, old business.
Yeah, Gary Smith's not here with Reedy yet, so if we can move on, Mr. Chairman, to new business, that would be great.
Okay. Under new business, first item, Clifty Drive right-of-way purchase. This is for partial 12 and 13.
Yeah, these 2 parcels are recommendations to NDOT that we're making as a part of a settlement to acquire those 2 parcels. So they've asked us to approve those offers first, and then NDOT will be presented those for their approval.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. And how many more parcels are there to acquire? Do you know?
I am not fully up to speed. I believe on Clifty Drive, these are the final 2 parcels that were in some form of negotiation. I am not confident on Wilson
Okay.
Avenue. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Just curious. I know that right-of-way acquisition is important. It takes a long time, but both of those projects are going to be slated to begin next year.
So the purchase does require a motion.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Next item, the Crystal Beach pool agreement and fee proposal.
Yeah, Commissioners, in your packet is a proposal for Phase 2 of Crystal Beach, which is the redesign of the pool itself. You've been very supportive of the Crystal Beach project during Phase 1. We're asking the Redevelopment Commission to be supportive here in Phase 2. In Phase 1, you committed $500,000 towards that project. Currently, because of some deducts of the liner and some of the pumps and other things that we are not doing as a part of Phase 1, the Commission will have about $290,000 left of that original commitment of $500,000. What we're asking for today is for your consideration to approve $340,000 for the architectural and engineering consultant fees for Phase 2, which is a little bit more than your original commitment of $500,000, but we certainly would appreciate the support.
Well, and I'll add to that, which is tonight at City Council meeting, our designers, architects, engineers, financial advisor Gary will be there. We'll be laying out a plan for a replacement of Crystal Beach to City Council. Then over the course of the next few weeks, we'll be finalizing the financial plan on how we pay for a replacement. The pool is beyond repair, and we discovered that as we got through the restoration of the project. The pool house is almost complete. That'll be ready for community year-round use, by November. But the actual pool basin itself is structurally compromised and is going to have to be replaced. So we've been working for several months to come up with a new design, one that would be very conducive to the architectural history of Crystal Beach, as well as a financial plan.
So how much does this change the total commitment
From the RDC, I'm asking for an additional, this contract, $340,000 plus roughly $210,000. So you'll be a little bit more than the 500. We don't know exactly the final change order amount of the contract, because as the mayor indicated, the pool house is still under construction. But we are estimating approximately $290,000 from the original RDC commitment will be left because of the deducts that are coming out because of the work that's not being done. So I would ask that the commission approves the contract for $340,000, and of which I believe roughly $290,000 is left of your first commitment.
And Joe, just be fully transparent, part of the financial plan will be coming back to the RDC for what role it might have in paying for the new pool. We think that we've got a financial plan that is really good, and actually uses the benefits of the RDC in a way that we've already been going through the last couple of years on our assessed value determination. So as Parker had mentioned at the last meeting, there's going to be an increment increase in our revenue because of how we've been looking at assessed values and making investments to grow it. We still think that there's opportunity there for RDC to participate in the long-term replacement of the pool without inhibiting any future investment opportunities by the RDC. But now we've got to finish up the design work in order to get it out and get some cost estimates. But there's going to be more conversation to be had about Crystal Beach.
Yeah, and one of the ways that we're looking at trying to control costs and understand that is, excuse me, we're going out in two phases for that project. One is the demolition, and then two will be the reconstruction. So we'll have a really good understanding of the cost of the demolition in these bidding environments, and then look towards the reconstruction. So we're trying to manage that as well as to be expected in these environments. Not to exceed $340,000.
Yep. Thank you.
Super ATV EDA transfer and assignment.
So what you've got in front of you is the assignment and assumption agreement that has been worked on over the past week or so with regard to Super ATV. And this is a result of the announcement of the purchase of Super ATV by Dorman Products. And as a result of doing that, it's been requested that the obligations that Super ATV currently has with regard to the city be changed and modified so that or in order for the sale to occur. So, essentially we have an assignment and assumption agreement. The first part is that the bonds shall be transferred to Madison Commercial Properties, who will maintain ownership of the properties and have long-term leases. In the bond documents themselves, it anticipates a potential transfer, so really that's not surprising, and that's to be expected. But that is one thing and one part of what this document does. So with the underlying ownership of the property and the individuals or the entity that will be paying the taxes will be Madison Commercial Properties instead of Super ATV, because Super ATV will no longer exist. And the second part is dealing with the economic development agreement that Super ATV entered into with the city of Madison. And if you can recall, part of how this was going to work is these are developer-backed bonds. Developer purchased the bonds, and upon paying the tax associated with the bonds and the repayment of the bonds, the city of Madison was to be first in line to receive $1.5 million, but it was to be over 10 years. In order to in order to transfer this EDA, since Super ATV may not exist, I mean, everybody's anticipating that this is going to go through, all parties are, we would transfer the economic development agreement from Super ATV to Madison Commercial Properties. And within that, they would upfront the $1.5 million to be paid to the city within a year, which was to be paid over 10 years. The mayor has worked on this and believes that that is going to be a benefit to the city. It certainly is a large accelerated payment on that, and then Madison Commercial Properties will continue on, and the bond schedule will continue on. So all the terms of the bonds and things like that will remain the same, but upon payment of that $1.5 million, once the city's been satisfied of that, then the economic development agreement will be canceled or terminated. All of the provisions that Super ATV has entered into with regard to the state of Indiana and IEDC, it's our understanding that those have been released, and those are no longer exist either. With regard to the other term of the EDA, it was based upon level of investment. At this juncture, Super ATV has, from a construction standpoint and a equipment standpoint, has, I think they're at $15 million in construction and $6 million in equipment, which frankly I believe already meets or exceeds the level of commitment in the EDA. So that's where we are, and I believe after the mayor has looked at this, and we are looking for approval of this assignment and assumption agreement. So do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
We're, and having met, and I'll have the mayor add to that, we feel really confident that Dorman and Super ATV are in the best interest of the community in working with us on this agreement. You know, they're still continuing to invest, we'll finish the construction, we'll continue to invest in their growth of their facility. But much like IEDC, that all prudence is that the new corporation wouldn't accept the terms of our EDA.
Dr. Brown, as we go through here, if you have absolutely any questions, please, feel free to ask, okay?
I haven't heard from Gary. I hope he's okay. Sorry about that. I know he's coming from Indianapolis today, but I'll go ahead and I'll do a little bit of a recap of the finances that is in your report. As Parker indicated, we do believe we'll have an additional cash infusion this year because of the assessed evaluation. You will continue to note that we're anticipating a year-end balance of right around $2 million based upon the current funds and flow of dollars. As we have talked in the past, I'm sorry, I'm not reading that correct. I'm sorry, $1.4 million at the end of the year based upon current flows and projections. I was reading 2020, sorry about that. As we have discussed as a part of the capital planning, we will continue to start to spend some dollars because of the commitments made by the Wilson Avenue project and the Clifty Drive project, as well as the other projects that have you supported. Are there any questions? And the new financials do have the cash flow projections of the payments for the Riverton bond and the Madison Plaza bond projected. Is there anything else, Mary, you'd like to report on financially?
Yeah, if there's no other thing on financial, I failed to forget, can you guys make a motion to allow the mayor to execute the assignment and assumption agreement on behalf of the redevelopment commission?
Motion for the mayor to act on behalf of RDC.
Or amend the motion, yes.
For the assignment and assumption agreement. You don't have to, you just make a motion for that.
Updates. Commission, just a few things. I wanted to let you know that we did go out to the general public for bids for our property on Shun Pike. It was last bid in 2014, so with the help of our city attorney, we've issued a new request for that. Those will be taken under consideration at your October meeting for approximately 60 acres of industrial property that we own. I would let you know that the Franks Drive intersection project is moving forward as long as the city council does approve that, and we should have cost estimates for you to consider at the October meeting as well on that. And then Sunrise Crossing, no real big updates. We are continuing to work with the fourth tenant. We had all hoped that we'd be able to announce that sooner than later, but the legal minds of our great world make things go just a little bit slower. So we're working through a number of details, nothing that is concerning to us at the city nor the developer. It's just things like making sure that there's a separate property boundary with a separate footing now for that fourth tenant. So they're having to redraw some stuff and get some things worked through. So we hope to be able to announce them and some additional retail and restaurant interest here in the coming weeks. Mayor?
Thanks, Tony. Well, as you can see, we've been very busy, both capital planning wise, but also, negotiating different agreements, working through the construction with Sunrise Crossing, intersection improvements that are frankly long overdue at Franks Drive and Clifty Drive. Lots of infrastructure development the city's involved in and you're involved in, both on Clifty Drive, Wilson Avenue, major water utility project also underway. But in addition to all that, and Crystal Beach, there are a few other things I'd like to update you on. One is the Ready Grant. As you know, we have been participating over the course of or I should say planning over the course of the last almost a year and a half now with, through Governor Holcomb's economic development program called the Ready Grant, and the Southern Indiana RDA, which met here in our offices last Friday, had already approved approximately a $2.6 million allocation to the City of Madison's destination plan. Part of that process includes us filing additional application information to the IEDC. IEDC has final approval authority over it. They gave us final approval on our it was the Mulberry Street Arts Corridor and Market development. And today, you didn't mention, but today we had bid opening for 2 of our Ready Grant programs. You want to mention that?
Yeah, so we did take bids today for the Mulberry Arts Corridor work as well as the Gateway work, and we're pleased that both of those projects did come in under budget a little bit, which is good news in this bidding environment, which will allow us to now carry that additional dollars on to our other Destination Madison projects in the next project, which will be the Bicentennial Park Amphitheater, which will be next spring.
So exciting stuff there. We did 2 plans. We did a workforce and a destination plan. One is being funded by Ready, and candidly, the workforce plan is being funded by a combination of state money through NDOT, local money through RDC in the City of Madison, but mostly private capital investment. So we're really thrilled about what's happening on the Hilltop with regard to economic development. It's fantastic what's going on now. We're spending a lot of time continuing on capital planning. Our website is City of Madison website is nearly updated with a project element to it, which is going to be fascinating for anybody in the community that wants to see all that we're working on across the community. They'll be able to go to our city projects page as part of the website and see every project we're working on across the city, the timetable, the scope of the work, the budget, the partners who are involved in that, the financing sources, and keep track of what's happening across town because there's a significant amount going on there. You've heard me talk a little bit about ARPA, that's the American Rescue Plan Act that was approved a little over a year ago. We are continuing to, modernize that, I say, with or should say, refine it. It's going to be presented for an amendment to council later this month, and it will include infrastructure, parks improvements, and some other things in it. So there's approximately $2 million left in our ARPA money that we will be appropriating through city council, but leveraging those dollars for greater investments across the community. Jefferson County Commissioners committed $1 million towards our clean drinking water project from their ARPA allocation, and $250,000 for our flood mitigation program. Today at Board of Public Works, we approved a stormwater detention design and management plan with our developer partners on the Hilltop that is bringing a 400 and some odd thousand cubic foot detention basin to Sunrise Crossing, which is going to slow down by nearly 50%, approximately 3 million gallons of stormwater that right now is flowing unabated from surrounding commercial property through Miles Ridge into Crooked Creek and downtown, and exacerbating our flood risk.
And if I can, that was a great example of public-private partnerships, and your support of that is very beneficial. The retention basin is, in the detention basin, the dry retention basin is roughly about a $600,000 project, of which the city is only investing $200,000 in terms of infrastructure development. The rest of it's being borne by the developers of those projects. So again, thanks for the support of that. But a great example of how public-private partnerships can leverage public investment.
And we were reminded just this weekend of how powerful our flash floods can be from excessive rain and stormwater. And it's part of a comprehensive flood mitigation and stormwater management plan that we have that's dealing with policy as well as design standards and infrastructure. And we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers, Department of Natural Resources, NDOT, and private developers and property owners to bring solutions to the Crooked Creek watershed that's been flooding repeatedly for the last 150 years. So great things happening there. On the grocery store front, Tony, want to mention a little bit about Placer ID as well as progress we're making on our neighborhood market.
Yeah, so we are continually working every day on the market. There's a note card right in front of my monitor that I'm reminded of every day. But the city has invested in some new software that's allowing us to generate the data that we need to proactively go out and work on selling our location in our community to those folks. And with Alyssa's help and the county commissioners participated in funding that software as well, we're now able to talk about leakage in our community with real numbers. And Carrie, I think you're familiar with Placer AI, worked with that at Target. So we're really happy to be able to have those kinds of numbers to share and data. It's not only being used by us, but it's also being used by VMI to help us with understanding some tourism data as well. And it's much more robust than census data. And prior to this, it's about what we had. So we're really excited. We're having great comments from our developers that we're talking to that the data is helping. And it's really interesting to see how Madison does stack up against other communities in the country, because we can now pull other communities, our peer groups, and start to understand how we fare.
Saw you there. And the last thing I'll mention, Commission, is just our Main Street Master Plan. We went through a master planning process with the steering committee. They concluded their work. They've made recommendations, and we've been successful in receiving the first 2 of 3, hopefully the third. But it's a 3-phase project. We've received federal highway grants for the first 2 phases, and now we're working on the design aspects of that particular project. So a lot happening. In the next 3 years, you're going to see just a continued transformation of Madison from an economic development perspective, and literally hundreds of millions of dollars in new fresh capital coming to our community. I'm happy to answer any questions as well. I want to welcome Dr. Brown here to the meeting.
I did note Gary's here. If anybody has any questions specifically about the financials, Gary, we handled it, I think, but if there's questions, he's here and can. Got him? Okay, perfect.
He's like that. He is like that. Next meeting is October the 4th.